Seconds. And there we go. We're live. Yay.
Hello and welcome to the Cubist. I am interim guest hosting. Bill is out with a minor personal issue, and we are carrying on in his stead. With me, I have co-host Patrick Hillier.
Bang.
And tonight's guests, we have Sarah Mahood and
Hi.
Marti Wormuth.
Hello.
And they make up 2/3 of Open Seat Gaming. And we are all here tonight to do a deep dive on Lords of Waterdeep. So before we get into that, we can do a quick little introduction of our guests, more than just their names, and they could tell us a little bit about Open Seat Gaming. So take it away, ladies.
So
Or not.
Tell us which one of you is which.
I'm Sarah and I'm Marty.
Awesome. Okay.
Everybody always mixes us up, so that's okay.
Oh, right, but it just says Marty on the little window, so just
Oh, yeah.
sure people know.
So I'm Sarah with Open Seat Gaming. I write some of the app stuff on our website, on our blog, and I just love games.
You just love games.
I just love games.
So Open Seat Gaming was something that was started last year. We're actually coming up on our first year anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
March 1st is when we started the blog of last year. Scott, who's the other third of Open Seat Gaming, his Twitter handle Solitary Meeple, and I wanted to start a blog that was intentionally inclusive, because obviously Sarah and I are both women, and also all three of us are LGBTQ+. And so we also focused a lot on being inclusive in terms of the types of gaming that people do. Because we're omni gamers, and in the sense that we will try anything, almost anything that's put in front of us. And so we kind of wanted to reflect that in the way that the blog was started. We have a lot of regular things. Like Sarah said, she does the app stuff. Every month I do what I call classic callback. I go back to an older game of some sort. I try to keep it further than 10 years back. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but and Scott does he does a lot of collecting stuff, so he talks about like game organization and inserts and all that sort of thing. So a little bit of everything, I guess, is Open Seat. And so we've been in Punchboard since last summer. And so that's us.
Cool. Hey, Eric, did you see the chat about the camera focusing?
Yes, I am typing to you now that I have no idea how to fix that.
You'll
have to bear with us, folks. I have never hosted one of these before, and I don't know how to fix that.
I think it's you just click off of me. Click on the little picture of me.
There. Are we now on Marty and Sarah?
It should jump between people as they talk.
Yeah, no, now we're locked in on Marty and Sarah.
Well, that's better than me.
So pretty.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just be clicking between people all night. Sure, that'll go well. Anyway, so let us move on and talk about one game we have each played this week, and we'll let our guests go first so I don't have to click extra.
It's jumping for me. I don't know if it is for the guests.
Well, we went to PresCon this past weekend. PresCon is a local convention for us. We live in Western Virginia, not West Virginia, Western Virginia.
Big difference, right?
There's a big difference. And so we went over the mountain to a board game, to PresCon.
It's in Charlottesville. It's a week-long convention around the week of President's Day. And they have a lot of tournaments, war games, but they also have a great open gaming library and open gaming area. And so that's what we went for on Saturday. And we had a great time. We got to play a lot of games that we haven't had access to late for whatever reason, because they're out of print or recently coming back into print. So it was good to get some different games played.
Cool.
So you played, well, we both played Fate of the Elder Gods. Chris Kirkman, Daryl Lauder, and TC Petty from the State of Games were all there. And Chris and Daryl showed us, we had played Fate of the Elder Gods at PAX Unplugged, but
I got to play as the agent in their Agents of Arkham expansion to Fate of the Elder Gods, which is a prototype and should be coming to Kickstarter either Q4 of this year or Q1 of next year. And so it adds the investigators as a playable character into Fate of the Elder Gods. And so you're working against all the other, you're working against the cultists of the gods and trying to thwart their summoning of their big bad god.
Had you played Fate of the Elder Gods before you tried this expansion that they're testing?
We had played it once at PAX Unplugged, and then we heard about it on Twitter and on their podcast. And since we knew they were coming to PressCon, we asked if we could play test it. And it was a lot of fun. It added a new wrinkle into the game, and you could really mess with all your opponents in a fun backstabby twisting the knife way.
All right, so that was your game, Sarah. How about you, Marty?
One of the games that we played earlier in the day was Rampage, or now is known Terror in Meeple City. And I am somebody who I'm very iffy on dexterity games. Like, some dexterity games I really like, and some dexterity games I absolutely hate. But I really liked this one because it's just chaotic. You're playing as these big baddies who are going after these meeples in the city. You're tearing down buildings, you're throwing buses at buildings and meeples, and you're just generally just causing mayhem and disaster. And I lost miserably. You kicked my butt. But we had a really good time playing it. I very much enjoyed.
2 questions for you. Oh,
we lost the ladies. Now we're really in trouble.
Oh boy. Well, while they come back, I will hold my questions. And Patrick, why don't you tell us what you played this week?
I think I talked about it before. I wanted to bring up Civilization: A New Dawn. I don't know if I talked about it here, but I know I talked about it on our show. That was I named it my last minute top number 3 game of the year, 2017 game of the year, and after 1.5 plays, and got a couple more plays in, and it's still there. I'm really liking it. Played a 4-player game, and it plays in like 2 hours, and it feels like a Civ game, and it's just bright. I mean, the ladies are back. We this time I played the Aztecs and got to do some more fighting because I was geared towards being more combative, and instead of exploratory like I was encouraged to be when I was playing that Teddy Roosevelt last time. So just kind of got me in a different direction. So I'm still enjoying it a lot.
And in 2 hours, it still had all the elements that make you believe for a good Civilization game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as in depth.
Building.
I don't think there's not that much super exploration, but other than that, it's pretty solid.
Marty and Sarah, are you back with us?
I think so.
Okay,
hope so.
Great. So I 2 questions
before you jump off. So I figured out through some Google. So is there a white box around anyone's picture right now?
No, we should be good now. I think it's fixed.
Now everyone's jumping. All right, good.
All right. So 2 questions for you about Rampage. One from me, one from the chat room. My question is, did you play this because you're excited about the Sean the Rock Johnson movie that's coming? Or Dwayne the Rock Johnson, whatever his name is, movie that's coming out?
Think about that, but oh my god, that's funny. Yeah, no, I didn't even think about that.
Because I saw the trailer to that movie when I saw Black Panther, and man, Yeah, it looked bad.
Yeah.
And second, game-related question from the chat room. Ben wants to know, do you guys like junk art?
Yes, actually. We played junk art at Origins. Yeah. And we really like, now granted, we played giant junk art there.
Yes.
But I get the feeling we'd like the small one too, like the regular sized.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been meaning to get junk art for a while to play with my kids, and I just haven't picked it up. So I should get on that. I know they like
again,
it.
I'm going to switch computers, by the way, so it might be a minute.
All right. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Hopefully.
Do you remember what kind of cities you guys played in junk art?
Oh gosh, that was almost a year ago.
Okay, don't worry about it.
I could tell you when I demoed it at Origins, I don't know the name of the city, but you would play one piece and then move to your left.
Yes, that's what we did.
Yes.
I guess that was the demo standard if they're saying yes as well.
Yeah.
That was fun because it's not only, oh, can I get this to work? It's, can I get this to work, but make it so precarious the next person won't.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
The fun take that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was fun. Yes, but that was the one that we did too.
Alrighty, so I didn't know which game to talk about, so I decided to just throw up a Twitter poll because I played a few games recently. One of them was Sabotage. It's a French word. It's some sort of pirate game. And then another one was Grim Forest, and then the third one was The Last Garden. And Grim Forest won, so I will talk about Grim Forest. First, I did not back it. My buddy backed it. It came in a giant box, like almost like a Blood Rage size thing, and it had UV spotting, and it had a sleeve that you got to take out the pieces, and then you open it, and inside it has custom game trays molds. It had over a dozen minis.
Holy cow.
And it had 3-dimensional plastic, straw, brick, and wood houses. And yeah, it was like the definition of like over excessive. And so I like I said, I didn't back this. I didn't look a lot into it when it was live. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be like an involved, epic, big game. And then it was like a 15 to 20 minute, super simple game of building 3 houses that felt nearly like it was over as soon as it really got started. So I guess my expectations for the experience that I was going to have based on the presentation and components and the experience I actually got, where I felt like it should have been a cheap small box game that had no miniatures. Oh, and by the way, like, so you have these little pig miniatures, and those are you actually use as your player tokens, but all the other miniatures, there's probably like 8 or 10 other miniatures of like a troll under the bridge and wolves and stuff like that. They're really not used almost at all. Oh yes, I will make everyone go back and rate everything on the Cubist scale. So, but I will start because I'm finishing up here. All right, so Grim Forest, the Cubist scale is buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it. And I am going to say play it. You could bump that up if you have children, like older children that can read, because there are cards that have text on them, but it's really a family game, you know, based on the fairy tales, and there's not a ton there, I think, for adults to play in a game group, especially replayability wise, because a few times it looks like the same thing every time. Just my take on that. What's your rating of Civilization: A New Dawn on the Cubist scale, Patrick?
I would say play it. I think it might be a little pricey, and it's not perfect. There are some issues that some people have with it. So there's some unanswered questions. Our barbarian's movement's a little funky, and some people aren't happy with that. So definitely play it.
All right, and if Sarah and Marty pop on, we will ask them before we move on. So the Cubist has a rating scale for games that you played, and I forgot to ask you about that, but where would you rate Rampage on a buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it scale?
Ladies.
Or not. They are not back with us yet.
These are like the early
Sorry
days.
about that.
of
We
the
lost
series.
you a little bit.
There we go. There we go.
All right, there we go. So, Rampage, buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it?
I'm switching.
Alrighty. So, Patrick, let's get into Lords of Waterdeep.
All right.
Let's start our deep dive on Lords of Waterdeep. So, I believe you have dug deep into Waterdeep and found us some lore on the game. Why don't you tell us about that?
Oh, I just did a little bit of wiki research, which is, of course, the best kind of research. And, I knew it was old, because Dungeons & Dragons has been around forever because it just celebrated its 50th anniversary of Gen Con, right? But it says the city of Waterdeep was an integral part of Ed Greenwood's house campaign and his most important city in the Forgotten Realms setting, which he started circa 1967. So this predates me. For just a homebrew. This was just some guy's homebrew Dungeons and Dragons map and setting that he started up. And he just created a city called Waterdeep. And then go ahead.
I want to jump in and just mention that Forgotten Realms became a fairly famous fantasy novel series written by R.A. Salvador. At least the early ones were written by R.A. Salvador. I believe other people have written in that universe now as well.
Yes.
And I actually thought R.A. Salvador came up with that, so I'm learning that it was first this other guy's campaign.
Oh yeah, no, there were many Dungeons and Dragons modules. That's where I'm familiar with them, set in the Forgotten Realms universe. That came out probably in the 80s that I remember. So then it went on to say that there was a government that ruled the city of Waterdeep, and it's just ruled by a council whose members are largely secret. These hidden lords of Waterdeep maintain their identities behind magical masks. While they rule in public, none know the true identities of most of them, which of course comes into play in the actual board game. So again, that's sort of this secret society of rulers kind of comes into play when you just start the game and you hand out your Lord of Waterdeep, and hence the name of the game, the Lords of Waterdeep. I don't know where the ladies are, but I was going to score, the basics of the game. I actually just played this. So Mr. Thomas jumped in here. The box set of D&D settings in Forgotten Realms, and more specifically Waterdeep and the surrounding areas. Right, I haven't actually played any of them, Thomas. I just remember seeing them. So, anyway, so I actually just played this Saturday night. So I got a little bit of a refresher. So, you get handed out your Lord card, and you keep that secret underneath your player board, and it sort of gives you a bonus based on the cards the quests that you complete during the game.
Secret goal.
A secret goal. And you're given, like there's 4 types of quests: commerce, piety, warfare, and
arcana.
And you might have 2 of those 4. There's one other one that maybe
the building master.
And there's some which are maybe different when in the expansions, which we might get into. But in the basic one, it's just usually those 4 and the building master one. So it might push you in giving you 4 points per those quests that you complete, but you don't know which ones you or your the other players have. They keep that hidden, and then it's just basically a worker placement game. These quests are, collect 4 orange cubes and 4 black cubes, and a white cube and convert that into 15 points.
No. It's collecting thieves and priests and wizards and warriors.
Oh,
Patrick.
is it?
And I have the D&D pools to prove it. I got rid of all my cubes.
Do you have a copy?
I do have a copy.
And you have the deep. Well, get some of those deep D&D pools and
I'll grab them.
show us what they look like. I'd be interested to hear how many people in the chat room actually have the D&D pools. Yeah, I don't. We played it. Give me some orange, give me some white, give me some black. I don't even say the words. And I've talked about this before. I am the worst on every game about when we played, look at you. Oh, you've got the insert and everything.
I do, because I got the expansion.
Now, how come I had to teach you how to play it?
The expansion you had to teach me how to play. I didn't get the expansion until after I played it with you.
Yes. Okay. This
is the rogue. See, he looks like a little thief with the little knives.
Nice.
And this is the wizard with his staff.
Okay. So purple ones are wizards.
And the white one is the little priest guy with his little priest thing.
Yep. That's a mace.
The orange guy is the warrior, and he has a little sword. See?
Oh,
like show and tell at school.
That is great. Those are perfect. Thanks.
That's why they keep me around.
So, and that's the broken token insert?
This is the broken token insert, which is a lovely. And now I like the regular insert it came with, that plastic one. I thought that worked pretty well, but then I got the expansion, and I don't like to keep expansion boxes.
Sure.
Yes, it is the broken token insert. Yeah. And I picked it up at PAX Unplugged, so I did not have to pay for shipping on it, because you wind up buying them and they're like $20-$25, but then it's like they're like $10 to $12 to ship it. And it's
I usually only buy those at cons if I ever get them, because they're pricey enough as it is. I mean, they're nice. I love broken token stuff. Anyway, what was it? So you convert those thieves and fighters and cleric into some victory points, and you kind of rinse and repeat. The interesting thing about the game is it sort of evolves over time. It's one of the things I like about it is, you start off with just some basic, maybe 6 or 8 spaces, and then there's these buildings that come out that are more advanced. A little bit more advanced, better spaces that come out. So the amount of spaces grows over time.
But it only grows if you buy the buildings.
That's correct.
But the game does sort of pushes you to buy them, because every turn they'll add victory points to them.
Yep.
So if they're not getting bought, they'll start stacking up victory points, and eventually it just becomes so lucrative, even if you don't plan on using the building, just to take it for the victory points.
Right. And
go on, Patrick.
No, I was just gonna say and then the game also has a speed element to it. Those victory point counters are piles of 8 piles, and the game ends usually faster than I hoped, in 8 rounds, and is over. And you just count up your number of cards that you've been able to convert over, and multiply that by your hidden victory points, and highest points wins. And then there's a lot of other little tiny things in there. There's influence cards, which kind of have I don't know how to describe those. A little bit of a backstabby, sometimes take that app, or even a I get this, but you also get this moment to them.
Yeah, they're definitely high interaction cards, and they also, when you play them, they allow you to reuse your worker. So they don't actually cost you an action. They just delay your action until the end of the round. So they usually give you a benefit. They may give your opponent a benefit, or they'll let you just steal something from your opponent. Right. Or the absolute favorite of most people are the mandatory quests, where you get to hand them to your opponent, and then he was about to play a big 20-point card. Now he has to complete this stupid 2-point mandatory quest. And if you do that in the last round, then they can't do what it is they were trying to do for the big points.
Sure.
But my favorite part about Lords of Waterdeep is a lot of worker placement games have a mechanism where you can get more workers. like Stone Age has with the Love Hut, and other games have a mechanism where you could buy more workers or grow your family and increase your workers. Lords of Waterdeep, you have what you have, and then in the 5th round you just get an extra one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, it just, you don't have to worry about that. It's not something that you don't have to feed anyone, you don't have to grow your family, you're just doing stuff.
We
So
can also get those
very
2 other
straightforward.
guys, the lieutenant and
Yes, I can't remember the name of the other one either.
yeah.
But I find they're very rarely worth the effort they take to get.
Unless they come real early.
I also have the Broken Token insert for Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I actually bought that game when it. I'm speaking to Ben in the chat room, who says he has that insert. I bought the game when it first came out, and it didn't even come with bags in the first version. So when I punched, I didn't realize that, and then I had a huge mess of room tiles in a box, and not a single bag. And I was like, oh boy.
I have the Broken Token for. Well, it's not. It's for 2 games. It's for Suburbia, and it doubles for Lords of Waterdeep. Not for Lords of Waterdeep, the game we're talking about. Lords of Vegas. It's not officially for Lords of Vegas, but there's some photos of it that you can use it for both.
Okay, Trevin Taylor in the chat room says, do we need Waterdeep with all the similar newer games that are similarly?
I've not played Raiders, so I can't really say. But I mean, Lords has been around for a while, right? So
I love Raiders of the North Sea. But I will say this: if you're looking for a gateway game and you want to show people what a worker placement game is, there are a few games that are going to show them everything a worker placement game has to offer as quickly and easily and more streamlined than Lords of Waterdeep does. And as much as I love Raiders of the North Sea, I don't think it has the put a guy down, pick a guy up mechanism, which is like a nice twist on worker placement. But I think you have to play worker placement game first before you can play that to truly appreciate the twist on it. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Just my take on that.
We also talked a little bit before the show about Stone Age as another entry level, which is one, it's a little harder to get a hold of nowadays, I think. And it's also, I think it's also a little bit, it's entry level.
It definitely, but that one has just a lot more dice. Well, by a lot more, I mean like Lords of Waterdeep has no dice, so it just has that you're rolling chance and probability elements in that game.
Correct.
So that's just going to depend on what kind of gamer you are, and if you want to be able to have a longer term strategy, you're going for. If you want the nature of, oh, can I just outroll what I'm supposed to roll?
Yeah, Lords. I mean, there's probably some uber BGG nerd that's calculated the odds of all this stuff out. I'm sure there's some math behind all this stuff. You figured that out, haven't you?
Some of it, I think. That's why I always beat you. Yes, and that actually will roll into something. Lords of Waterdeep has a really cool app that is, it's been on the iOS store for years, but Patrick and I both have Androids, so we were never able to play it. So not until last year did it finally port over to Android, and we've probably played it a half dozen times. We've played the base game, we've played it with the Scoundrels of Skullport expansion and the Undermountain expansion, both of which you taught to me. And so yeah, if you don't want to go buy Lords of Waterdeep, but you want to just play it on your phone, and you could play it against players async, or you can also play it against the computer, and the computer's AI is fine. It's that kind of game where it's not going to have terrible AI. So, but yes, that rolls into talking about the expansions.
Right. Netters was just asking about that.
Yes.
So over on our friends over at Hi. You've moved computers.
At least we're on the phone for now.
Okay, well that works. Why not?
But I don't know what was up with our computers, but I think we're all right now.
We're good. So we talked introduction to the game, and we're getting ready to shut the show down. No, don't go sideways.
Nope, don't go sideways. Okay.
Hey, somebody just asked about the expansions, so we'll let you go first. What do you think of the expansions?
We think that the expansions, I think that I have to play with them. Like I don't think that I can play without them at this point.
When you say them, do you mean both of them simultaneously?
Yep. Yeah. We use both of it, so we have as many
options, spaces to go to.
Yep.
I know it broadens the board a little bit depending on your player count, but we really enjoy having more spaces to go to, more variety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like the balance that the corruption has. Like that balancing act you have to do with the corruption like the whole time, because there have definitely been times where the corruption has screwed me over.
Chad mentions in the chat room, is there more than one expansion? Yes and no. In the Scoundrels of Skullport expansion box, there actually are 2 expansions. There's the Scoundrels of Skullport expansion and the Undermountain expansion. They're like 2 modules of the same expansion. You can play with either or both of them. The general consensus is that Scoundrels of Skullport is the far superior of the 2. That's the one that has the corruption mechanic.
Yes.
The Undermountain just adds some extra spaces. I play it a lot, like I said, with Patrick online at 2, and the Undermountain just loosens the board too much. But the Scoundrels of Skullport doesn't, because the corruption, you don't want to use those spaces because you're going to eat the corruption, and especially at 2 players, that's very zero sum. So I feel that one scales better at lower player counts, at least.
Yeah, I think the Undermountain adds more bigger scoring cards, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where the big like 40 pointers are and stuff.
Right.
What player count do you usually play at?
We normally play at just the 2 of us a lot. I like it. We played it at 5 several times. And we don't mind it at 5. It just sometimes the downtime's a little much.
Sure.
Oh, I will add that the expansion also adds a 6th potential player. Has anyone here played it at 6?
I don't
No.
think so.
I can't see playing it at 6. Like
that sounds horrible.
5 is already a lengthy experience, so I don't. I think 6 may be one step too far.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. We played. I think it was either 4 or 5, and we started at 1:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Oh God!
Oh no!
I'm getting way too old for that crap.
So, Marty and Sarah, do you got your copy? Have you you blinged it out? Have you jazzed it up at all?
Yeah, you missed it. We talked about the color,
about
the special
meeples and custom boxes and stuff like that.
We don't have the custom meeples. Our friends do.
Yeah,
They have the customs for their game,
but they don't use them. They were a gift. They showed them to us, and they were like, "Okay, but the cubes work."
Yeah.
We just got the insert from Broken Token. No,
Yes.
No,
Meeple Realty.
Oh, they have one too.
Yes. Just because and that's only because there's so little in the Scoundrels of Skullport box.
But it won't fit in the other.
But it wouldn't all fit in the other with the insert
that.
that's in that box. So we decided to get the insert for that, just so we could put them both in one box, because shelf space is at a premium here.
Yep, I did the same thing, and that's the same reason. I have the Broken Token one, I believe, but same reason.
Yeah.
Have you guys played the app? We were chatting about that a little bit.
All the time.
Mhm.
We play it a lot.
Once it came over to Android, we were like, yes.
Yes,
that's our big, like, the app. We play this when we're playing 2 players, since it has a really good pass and play. We actually play it a lot on the app instead of taking everything out and setting it up. So really, we lately have been only using our copy to play with other people, like if we're playing more than just the 2 of us.
So what other worker placement games do you guys like to play? I know we're kind of circling back to all the things that Patrick and I chatted about, but what are some of your other favorite worker placement games?
Go ahead.
You love Midgard.
Oh, I love Champions of Midgard. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, what was the other one that somebody brought up that we should talk about?
Raiders of the North Sea.
Have you played that?
We haven't played that yet. Scott has it.
Yeah, we haven't played it yet, but we're looking forward to it. We played Stone Age this weekend at PresCon, and that was good. Mathy.
Yeah, I liked how much math was in it.
I will give you this analogy. In my opinion, I think Lords of Waterdeep is to Stone Age as Raiders of the North Sea is to Champions of Midgard.
Really?
The latter two in both of those are very dice heavy, and the former two are not.
Okay.
But they're all similarly weighted.
Okay. That's good to know too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. On the heavier end of things, we played Viticulture.
Mm.
And
what were you gonna say? I haven't.
We're 9 games into Charterstone, but that's its own.
Yeah, that's its own beast.
But it has the worker placement element.
You know, it's an interesting one. I'm just pulled up a list of top 10 worker placements, and I never think of it as one. Is Alien Frontiers. So you roll dice,
nice.
And then you place them onto spots. So I guess you're placing them as workers.
Oh, you place them as workers. Yeah, that makes sense.
It just doesn't feel like a worker placement as such, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite games.
In the chat room, Thomas would like to know if you're playing Viticulture with or without Tuscany.
We have the Essentials Edition, which came out in 2016, I think. And so that has some elements of Tuscany. We have not gotten the Tuscany Essentials because, Stonemeyer did all that here, to get it this way and get it this way and get it this way. But
that's honestly why I've never bought the game. I got too confused about how many different versions and essential versions, and so I was just out of hell with it.
Yeah, I got taught it. I don't even know what I played. I know I had families. That's
the mamas and the papas.
Yes.
Yeah, that's at the very least you played Essentials.
Okay.
But yeah, because that's actually one of the main things about Viticulture that is in the Essentials Edition is that the mamas and the papas give you variable starting points. And so that's what makes that significantly different. And I know there's a few other things from it in the Essentials Edition, and then they have the Tuscany Essentials Edition, which has all the stuff that they didn't put in the Viticulture Essential Edition.
Yeah. Nice.
Circling back to our deep dive on Lords of Waterdeep, does anyone have favorite strategies, anything in that kind of avenue they'd like to discuss?
I feel like depending on what lords you get, you have to go at a certain strategy. Like if you're playing with the expansions and you don't have the two types of quests to go for, you kind of have to go for the bigger quests so that you're making up the points that you would get from having the bonus quests for your lord. That's when I get the for whatever reason I tend to get the Xanathar as my lord from Skullport, and you have to do that and manage the corruption level, and so it's kind of like you kind of have to be thinking a lot at once about, don't go too far on corruption. Don't go too far.
Yeah, I think the lord you get has a lot to do with what strategy that you have to use. Even though sometimes I think when we play, you have no idea what I'm trying to do. And sometimes I don't have any idea what I'm trying to do because that's just how the game is. But I'm very much, especially with the expansions, I'll go corruption heavy at first, and then I'll spend for the first few rounds, and then I spend the rest of the game hoping to get rid of the corruption that I'd gained.
Yeah.
Now, do you find that to be a successful strategy?
That depends on the day.
So Thomas in the chat room is saying, I don't see it often, but I love seeing someone cycle through the event skull. I think he means the intrigue deck. Cycling through the intrigue deck.
You've done that.
I have done that. That's actually a lot of fun when you start comboing stuff in the intrigue deck. Because you can do some crazy things. There's that one game what I played. I had a quest. I had a quest that let me have the option to play intrigue cards as I got them or something like that. So it was one of those. And then I pulled an intrigue card that let me pull more intrigue cards. So I played like the last round of the game. I think I played like 6 intrigue cards in a row, like right on the same turn. And Sarah's like, what are you doing?
If you can combo that with the quest that gives you points for doing intrigue cards, 2 points a pop, you can really crush it there. Now, Matt Franz in the chat room says, Lords can determine your path unless you're silly like him. And I think the easiest example to Matt's point is that if you get the Lord that you have to build the buildings, everyone knows almost immediately, because you're going to be the only person really trying to build a building instead of completing a quest off the bat and trying to do it every turn. And it's so easy to block. And then they're not getting any bonus points if you can block them even half the time. So definitely, I agree that in some cases, the Lords can definitely force you down a path that may not even be a great path for victory.
So I like building buildings even when I'm not the building dude, lady. Is that a bad strategy?
No, not at all. I don't think.
What's your win rate, Patrick?
What?
What's your win rate, Patrick?
Bad, but that's normal. It's an old game. So, well, I just thought the bonus of getting the free thing every time someone goes to your building seemed to be like a good.
Yeah, but they usually get a better thing too.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know that necessarily unless it's the victory points. The ones with the victory points are great. Like I don't even take some extra things. I always give you the victory points.
I think sometimes too, like there are definitely times where we'll be in the first or second round and I'll see that there's a building down there and I'm like, ooh, that should come out because that'll make our lives easier like through the rest of the game.
Sure.
Yeah, all the buildings are definitely not created equal.
No, not at all.
Or a lot of times it's obvious, like I don't remember what game, I can't think of what Lords it is, but like clearly there was a game where Eric and I were playing and we both needed skullduggery and skullduggery needed black. And we were both fighting over the 2 black spot,
Thieves Guild.
Yeah, here I don't know any of the terminology for any game. So a building came out that provided black. It's like, we need this building bad because we got to quit fighting over the thieves.
Yeah. Yes, sure. Rogues, thieves.
We'll make a thematic player out of you yet.
All right. I love themes and games. I just never use the words.
And good. And while we're on that topic, earlier someone had mentioned they were wondering if the D&D selling point was a positive or a negative for the game because it could easily turn off people as much as it could attract people that like D&D. But my 2 cents on that is that if you don't tell someone this is a D&D game, it looks like a town building game. There's a map of a little medieval town, and if you don't mention that it's Dungeons and Dragons and they've never heard of Waterdeep from being familiar with Forgotten Realms, you can easily breeze through that one.
Oh yeah, no. I don't think it really does affect anything because like we've played it with people who I know have never played a game of Dungeons and Dragons in their life and don't know what the heck it is.
I mean, maybe when you draw the quest where it's like tame the owl bears, then they're going, wait a second.
What's an owl bear?
Destroy the mind flayer. Then all of a sudden they're catching you at that point, but then they're in too deep anyway. So
how about flavor text? Does anyone read the flavor text anymore?
I do sometimes.
Do you really?
Yes. And it gives me a chuckle, like, oh.
They were witty.
I can't say that I read the flavor text in Lords of Waterdeep, but there are some games where it's genuinely amusing, and I'll read it just because it's amusing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm trying to think what it was the other day I was reading. I don't remember what it was, but there have definitely been times where I just start laughing because I'm just like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Oh, he meant seeing it on the shelf and seeing that it's D&D. All right, no fair. It does say Dungeons and Dragons.
That is fair.
I've never even noticed that, to be honest with you. But
I guess it does. I don't. I mean, yeah, it's either going to sell it or not, right? I mean,
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at it and just, if you don't notice the D&D or that it says Dungeons and Dragons, it just kind of looks like a generic fantasy adventuring game and town builder. Like,
I'm gonna give you the flip side to that is, like, let's say you're an RPG player, right? And you're not into board games, and you see Lords of Waterdeep, the board game from Dungeons and Dragons, and you bring this home. This is probably not what you're expecting.
right? There's no role playing.
What are all the square cubes, and where's the scenario? Where are my little plastic miniatures? Why isn't this like the D&D Castle Ravenloft game?
Mm-hmm.
Or Legend of Drist? Yeah, so maybe the D&D theme isn't killing it for them. I don't know, but I mean, it's been around a while. It's been selling. I mean, it's been constantly in print, right? It's definitely an evergreen.
I believe so. Yeah, I don't think it's hard to find
for Wizards. Yeah.
Yeah, because you got me the expansion easily, didn't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this game's going anywhere.
Nah.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with that. I don't think it needs any more expansions. I know some games they like to keep adding expansions too. I think they killed it with the one expansion it has, and I can't see where else they would go with it.
Yep. I agree completely.
They at least need a bigger box.
But that, yes.
All right, so I think that about wraps up our dive on Lords of Waterdeep, unless anyone has any final thoughts on it.
Nope.
All right, well, you know what that means. It's time for Patrick. Take it away with a double shot of rapid fire.
Awesome. Let me switch over to my rapid fire Word document. Who wants to go first?
Well, first of all, let's give them a little bit of an intro. Rapid fire will be 5 questions, and you will answer them off the cuff without any pausing or repeating the question. And we will hopefully get to know you a little better. Yeah. Who's up first?
Who's buzzing? You guys are buzzing.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I'll go first.
All right, Sarah, you're up. Take it away, Patrick.
I can't find my document. God, I'm totally worthless here.
It's good to have a co-host.
There we go. All right. Who's going first, Sarah?
Yes.
All right. So since you just played Stone Age, tell me a resource in Stone Age.
Gold.
All right. Name your favorite 2-player game.
Patchwork.
Name a worker placement game that is not Lords of Waterdeep.
Champions of Midgard.
Name a Winter Olympic event.
Curling.
Name a bear in Barren Park.
Polar bear.
All right, very good.
I am very glad that you didn't mention the koala, because I would have just went off on a rant.
I love polar bears.
We do. We both love
not
polar
a bear.
I know that.
No, koala bears are not bears. They're marsupials.
But it's in the game.
It's true.
It is in the
Game
game.
is wrong.
You'll be glad to know I was scouring your Twitter feed for.
I was about to say
games that games and things you've been talking about recently. Right, Marty? Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. What is your favorite weapon in Adrenaline?
Oh God.
Or just one of them?
Flamethrower.
Awesome. Name your favorite 4-player game.
4 players. Oh God. Definitely not Carcassonne.
You're stalling.
I know I'm stalling. Oh my god, 4 players? Now I gotta look at my
Lords of
shelf.
Waterdeep.
No. Oh, Dominion.
Name somebody else besides you who plays yellow.
The person who has well, you.
Thank
you. Play
you.
yellow.
Thank you. Yes. Name a treat for Fat Tuesday.
A treat. Well, I personally like my Fashnot, but
There you go. That's what I was looking for. Name a dice color in Sagrada.
Yellow.
There you go. That's it. Simple enough.
Who let you pick the questions, Patrick? All this yellow
Me?
player nonsense.
Because she has a yellow meeple in one of her pictures. It's awesome.
Yellow's my favorite color, actually.
You know, yes. And it is Nick Mariner is I call yellow.
Yeah.
My arch nemesis.
Your arch nemesis.
Well, that was fun. Good job.
All
Well,
right. Thank you for doing a rapid fire segment.
No problem. That was fun.
Yep.
So, and we're gonna wrap it up now. So let's tell everyone, where can they find you on the internet, and where can they find more about Open Seat Gaming?
All right. I'm at Fluffy Meeple on Twitter. And Sarah.
I'm at Confuzzled Meeple on Twitter.
Our website is www.openseatgaming.com. Our Twitter for Open Seat Gaming is at Open Seat Gaming. Scott, the third member of our posse here, is at solitary_meeple. He does a lot of solo gaming stuff. And
Instagram.
And we're on Instagram at Open Seat Gaming as well. We're also on Facebook. We're not as active on Facebook, but we're there. Oh, and we're a part of Punchboard Media,
Where we all bring something
We
to the
are.
table.
We are all part of Punchboard Media.
Yes, we are.
And Patrick, where might people discover your puns on the internet?
Well, I had a million puns today because we had a pun off on Twitter I'm at Over the Hillier on Twitter. I'm a little less punny over on What Did You Play This Week, where I do board game segments and conversation things.
Very good. And I am Eric Buscemi, sitting in for Bill Corey Jr. I am online at Eric Buscemi on Twitter. I also write the Cardboard Horde blog, which you can find on Punchboard Media. And this videocast can be found on Twitter at Cubist Podcast, and also has a website, which I don't know the web address to. So I'll stop while I'm ahead. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Yes.
And we will be back hopefully next week.
With
hopefully Bill will have his life back together. So look forward to talking to you then.
Hey, thanks. All you got to hit the stop button, and then we got to sit here and figure what we're going to do for the next